I wonder about the financial crisis. This has been building for 30 years, and now, within 40 days of the election, the problem has to be solved by Monday morning. I'm astounded by that, and I wonder, does anybody think it's suspicious? Yeah.
Ron Paul on the 17th did a press release on the earlier bailouts, and I'll just read from his own website. Richard Nixon once said, "We're all Keynesians now," meaning that Republicans and Democrats alike believed in government micromanagement of the economy. It appears that George Bush should say that we're all socialists now. He explained that the government has taken over the insurance giant AIG with an $85 billion loan for which it received an 80% equity stake in the company. In other words, the federal government will now own and run one of the nation's largest insurance companies. This administration, supposedly devoted to free markets and fiscal responsibility, has bailed out the housing industry, the quasi-government mortgage companies Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the investment house Bear Stearns, and the leading insurer. What's next, asked Barr. Well, that was 10 days ago, so now we know what's next, another $600 billion, perhaps $1 trillion. Moreover, the latest bailouts are being made in secret by the Federal Reserve. At least the housing and Fannie Mae bailouts came with congressional authority, if not understanding. However, no one voted to pour taxpayer funds into Wall Street, and no one voted for government to take over an insurance company. If the Federal Reserve can spend as much money as it desires to bail out any company that it desires, is there anything that it cannot do with taxpayer funds, asked Barr. Well, I guess the answer to that is they can do anything. President Bush should fire Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson. We need a Treasury Secretary who can be trusted with the keys to the taxpayer vault. It's imperative for Congress to explicitly limit the authority of the Federal Reserve. The Fed was not created to take over parts of the U.S. economy. Its authority must be limited, and its officials must be held accountable for their actions. Capitalism involves losses as well as profits. When government tries to insulate businesses and investors from paying for their mistakes, we all lose.
Another area is and what other speakers have brought out, is the current financial crisis. It is a crisis, there's no question about it. Mr. Barr's representative has spoken forcefully that the government does not belong in the marketplace. And to a degree that's true. In fact, to a great degree that's true. The reason for that is the government is a behemoth. It's a huge organization with a lot of money that can sway markets one way or the other. So it's meant to stay out. However, it has to be understood that the genesis of this is 30 years ago. The genesis of this problem is a problem that there were good intentions, noble intentions, that were delivered badly. The regulations forced lenders to write bad mortgages. When it became published, Senator McCain called for a bipartisan blue ribbon panel to look into the source of the problem. He is not a Johnny-come-lately to this. Fact is that the administration had been moving on, cleaning up Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's act since 2002. In 2006, Senator McCain rose to the floor of the Senate sponsoring the Federal Housing Enterprise Regulatory Reform Act of 2005, which was intended to clean up the accounting system that was being used. The unfortunate thing about it is that it did fail. But 2 years ago, he saw what was coming. The White House saw it. Actually, 6 years ago, there was no action on it. Senator Obama chose to point out that there was no reason for a blue ribbon committee, and never gave a reason for it, but perhaps the explanation might lie in the top 5 recipients of political contributions from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are all Democrats, and the number 3 at $105,000 was Senator Barack Obama. So perhaps that's where it came from. It is a complex issue, and I would be happy to discuss it with anybody that wants to follow the pathway. To be sure, individuals from both parties are involved in this up to their necks, but there is a need to examine why this happened. and make certain it doesn't happen again. Thank you.
The main thing I'd like to talk about is the economy. And one thing that bothers me more than anything else is hypocrisy. And John McCain, who a scant 10 days ago said the fundamentals of the economy are strong, and now he's saying if we don't act by tomorrow, coincidentally the day of the first presidential debate, if we don't act by tomorrow, we're going to face disaster on Monday, recession, depression. I think that at the end of the day, the overriding issue on the minds of voters when they go into the polls is going to be the economy. There was no bigger proponent of deregulation over the past 25 years than John McCain and Phil Gramm. It's not me saying this. Anyone, if you have a computer, Google it, and you'll see. Strongest proponent. Now for him to be leading the charge to regulate this industry, and when he fought against regulation all these years, is laughable, absolutely laughable. I don't know what the answer is on the bailout. There are a lot of people a lot smarter than me that are trying to come to terms with this right now. I have an inherent problem with taxpayers investing this tremendous, incomprehensible amount of money to bail out these companies, certainly unless some very, very important safeguards are put in place, which Senator Obama has called for. Key amongst them is capping compensation for the executives of these companies. It's outrageous.
She sees this as an opportunity. And I just want to do her summary on that particular position. This came out on the 19th, so there's a few things that have changed since then, but she says this: the crisis does not have to be treated as a mere market correction or the result of a few rotten apples in an otherwise pristine barrel. The crisis truly represents the opportunity to introduce fundamental change in the way the U.S. economy and its political stewards operate. Responsible political leadership demands that the pain and suffering being experienced by the innocent today not be revisited upon them or the next generation tomorrow. Sadly, instead of affirmative action being taken in this direction, the Bush administration rats up the drumbeats for war, Republican Party operatives busily remove designated voters from the voter rolls, our elected leaders in Congress go to campaign, while leaving us to fend for ourselves. For the administration and the Democratic-led Congress, I declare mission unaccomplished.
Just by way of response, yeah, Mr. McCain did say that the fundamentals of the economy are solid. That thought was echoed by Barney Frank 2 days later. There's a major difference between economic fundamentals, economic activity, and financial markets. One reflects the other. They do have points of intersection. The problem that is facing us right now with this current mortgage crisis, as it's being called, is that the impact isn't felt right now. 98% of the people in this country are paying their mortgages. 94% are working. There is trade, there is commerce, there is work.
How many here have called their Congress people to voice their opinion of this bailout? A few. I have a paper on the back with 5 telephone numbers, and you should call each of those numbers tomorrow morning and tell them that you don't want this bailout to be a gift. You want it to be a loan. Let them pay it back. They've stolen the money from credit cards and everything else. The bailout is a very important thing to our... The other question I have is, why doesn't one of the parties tell us the real deficit that this country's in monetarily?
About the bailout, actually earlier today, for lunchtime, I spent my time in the street corner helping people hold up a sign that said no bailout, corporate bailout. I want to know that the Green candidates are the only ones that take no corporate contributions, so we're not beholden to do a corporate bailout of any sort.
A lot of these people, a lot of these investors felt that why should they worry? Fannie Mae, this government organization, was guaranteeing the value of these things.